Hey there, Jonathan Acosta joined by our Bills insider Vic Carucci to break down what was maybe the game of the year in the NFL. Eagles 37, Bills 34. Buffalo falls in overtime in Philadelphia. And Vic, unfortunately for these Bills, this was a game that followed a similar script to the one that's happened way too often. The Bills are now 2-6 in one-possession games this season. It's the third time they've allowed a game-winning drive in the last 2 minutes of regulation or overtime. The Patriots, the Broncos, and now the Eagles. Vic, just where did this game go wrong for Buffalo?
You can't help but wonder just what is up with this team when it comes to these kinds of moments, these pressure-packed situations, and they just don't know how to respond to it. The pattern is clear. You're also talking about a club that is 0-6 in overtime since 2018, so something just isn't right when it comes to either execution or coaching, the scheming, all the pressure that is on everybody in these moments and their inability to respond to it is something you have to look at, because championship teams have to respond when the pressure is at its greatest.
And Vic, how much of this loss falls on the shoulders of the head coach, Sean McDermott? You know, he had the conservative approach at the end of regulation. They had 20 seconds and a timeout where they could have driven in field goal range to try to win the game in regulation. Instead, they kneel it out to play for overtime. And then he's in charge of the defense. The defense played very well in the first half, but they allowed the Eagles to march up and down the field in the second half and ultimately in overtime as well for that game-winning touchdown.
I was stunned that the Bills didn't take a shot at the end of regulation to try to win this game. I mean, there seemingly was enough time with the way that offense had been moving all day on that defense. Why not let Josh Allen and his receivers try to make one or two big plays to get in position to set up Tyler Bass and win the game there? It was too much, I think, conservatism on the part of Sean McDermott, and the fact that he used a timeout to ice a kicker. I mean, I didn't understand that either, given the distance, 59 yards on that field goal attempt. So in more ways than one, it looked like Sean McDermott just kind of, took that that conservative idea that, well, if we're going to win this game, we're going to have to wait till we regroup and do it in overtime. And you just can't count on that.
Right, and you kind of mentioned the offense in that last answer. This was an offense that they've been at fault in some of these losses for the Bills, but that was certainly not the case today. Josh Allen, he played at an MVP caliber type of game, the way we talked about in our Take Two segment to preview this matchup. He sort of played to what you said he needed to play for the Bills to have a chance to win this game. And this is a Bills offense that looks totally different in these last 2 weeks under Joe Brady.
This is the Josh Allen that we expect to see pretty much every game. I mean, he counts for 4 touchdowns. He had the one very bad interception that set up an Eagle TD, but for the most part, with his arm, with his legs, with his decision-making, he was on point. And this felt like another of those games. You kind of harken back to that playoff loss at Kansas City, the 13-second game, where he had done everything in his power to give them the chance to win, and they find a way to lose in other ways. This is the Josh Allen that I think could keep the Bills at least some of their hopes alive, but frankly, after a loss like this, it's hard to see them getting up off the mat and making a serious run to the postseason.
If there's any silver lining at all, is that the Bills have a bye week to sort of regroup, see where things are going wrong. But they're 6-6 through 12 games. They set in 10th place in the AFC playoff picture. Obviously not where they want to be. Vic, they have 5 games left, and it's a brutal stretch. They go to Kansas City. They play the Cowboys. They have to go to LA to play the Chargers. Oh, and they also have division games against the Patriots and Dolphins. Just with 5 games left in this regular season, where do the Bills go from here?
When they look back on what got them to 6-6 and the kinds of losses, the way that they've lost these games, that's going to make some stomachs churn, not only on the Bills, but I mean for all the fans of this team through this extra time between now and their next game. And the other problem is the way the schedule is playing out, because this is the most brutal stretch. And had they been able to, say, just steal one of the 3 games that they're playing in this tough stretch, counting Philadelphia, but then at Kansas City and then Dallas at home. Okay, you look at that and then look at the final games and you say they might have a chance here, but now they've put a larger gap between themselves and the Miami Dolphins, who take care of business against the Jets, as they should, a terrible Jets team. And the Bills don't capitalize to stay within striking distance and find themselves, I think, in not an impossible situation, but it just continues to look more dire.
Bye week coming up for the Bills, like we said, and then they basically find themselves in a must-win situation coming out of the bye when they head to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. Stay tuned to all of our WGRZ platforms as we bring you continued coverage of this Eagles-Bills game. For Vic Carucci, I'm Jonathan Acosta, Channel 2 Sports.